everyone, my name is Mary Mitchum and I work in children's ministry at Capitol Press. Today we are on Psalm 136. This is a psalm of remembrance, where we remember who God is in light of all that He's done. We shift our perspective from the here and now, and we remember just how big and faithful our God is, both 2,000 years ago and today. It's a long one, but I wanted to read it in full, so follow along and let the truth of this refrain sink deep into your soul. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, for His steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods, for His steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who alone does great wonders, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who by understanding made the heavens, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who spread out the earth above the waters, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who made the great lights, for His steadfast love endures forever. The sun to rule over the day, for His steadfast love endures forever. The moon and the stars to rule over the night, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, for His steadfast love endures forever, and brought Israel out from among them, for His steadfast love endures forever, with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who divided the Red Sea in two, for His steadfast love endures forever, and made Israel pass through the midst of it, for His steadfast love endures forever, but overthrew Pharaoh and his host in the Red Sea, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who led His people through the wilderness, for His steadfast love endures forever. To Him who struck down the great kings, for His steadfast love endures forever, and killed mighty kings, for His steadfast love endures forever. Sihon, king of the Amorites, for His steadfast love endures forever, and Og, the king of Bashan, for His steadfast love endures forever, and gave their land as a heritage, for His steadfast love endures forever, a heritage to Israel His servant, for His steadfast love endures forever. It is He who remembers us in our low estate, for His steadfast love endures forever, and rescued us from our foes, for His steadfast love endures forever. He who gives food to all flesh, for His steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of heaven, for His steadfast love endures forever. Now, as we look back at the psalm, we are going to focus on the three middle strophes. We can break down each strophe into different themes that help us remember God's steadfast love: creation, deliverance, and triumph. In this first strophe, verses 4 through 9, the psalmist reflects on creation: the heavens, the earth, the water, the light, the sun, the stars, to remember God's steadfast love. Then in verses 10 through 16, the psalmist transitions to a theme of deliverance. The psalmist reflects upon their deliverance from Egypt to remember God's steadfast love. We see words like Pharaoh, Red Sea, wilderness, all of which help us remember God's faithfulness in delivering His people. God always keeps His promises. And in our third strophe, verses 17 through 22, we have a theme of triumph or victory, where we recall all of the great earthly kings and land that they have conquered and inherited. The Lord has kept His promises. He has brought victory time and time again. His steadfast love endures forever. As the psalm closes, we see the psalmist switch pronouns for the first time. In verse 23, he says, "It is He who remembers us." And then again in verse 24, "It is He who rescued us." This same God who created the earth, delivered the Israelites, triumphed over enemies, is ours. How quickly we forget. So today I want to challenge you to make this psalm your own. Take out a pen and paper, make your own list about God's steadfast love. What has God created that reminds you of His steadfast love? Maybe it's the mountains or a sunset or our own bodies. What has God delivered you from? Maybe it's a specific sin, and a guilt or shame, a particular season of life or a fear? And what are the triumphs? Triumphed over death, triumphed over sin. Maybe it's a promotion at work or a relationship. Pray through these things, and after each one, say, His steadfast love endures forever. Read it over and over again and put it somewhere that you can go back to so that you may never forget. We serve a big God whose steadfast love endures forever.